Thank you all for being here. I'm going to ask that everyone's muted, which I think they are. I'm going to mute myself. And then Erica Blumfield, California, whenever you're ready, we would love to hear your story.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Okay. It is an unusually cold and stormy night in Los Angeles, and the fog is dense, making it difficult to see as I drive up a dark, long, winding road. My friend has invited me to an intimate evening of tarot card readings. I don't have much experience or knowledge of tarot, except for once a friend in college was dabbling in the cards, and one afternoon we drank loose leaf mint tea, burned incense, smoked pot while she read out loud from a book. But that was 20 years ago. To me, tarot cards are a parlor trick, like most mystical things, simply something to amuse and entertain. Or dupe, like when my Aunt Anita used to read my palm, she would ask me, "Do you want your palm red?" And when I said yes, she would take out her red lipstick and draw a big red mark on my palm and say, "There, now your palm is red." I'm the first to arrive at the lodge-like building where the tarot readings are being held. It looks creepy, and I wonder if this is a good idea. Before I could turn and run, the tarot card reader greets me. She asks me my name, and she tells me hers, Clarice. She has a cool, witchy vibe like Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac. Clarice summons me to follow her into a comfortable, softly lit, study-like room with large bookshelves and candles and stained glass windows. We take our seats at a small round table with a burgundy velvet cloth covering it. Clarice asks me if I know about the tarot, and I admit I don't know much. She begins to explain that the tarot consists of 78 cards, each with their own symbolism, story, and meaning. Clarice says, tarot allows us to connect to the magic in our lives, increases synchronicity, which increases intuition, which leads to meaning. And after all, what are we all looking for, if not meaning? She looks into my eyes as though she can see my soul. Next, Clarice hands me the thick deck of cards and instructs me to shuffle and think of a silent question while focusing on the cards with intention. My mind races. Which aspect of my being do I want insight into? I'm a writer, a teacher, a friend, a sister, a single woman who wouldn't mind finding love, but also at 40 years of age knows better than to waste my one question on a man. Clarice is focused on me. I shuffle and quickly hand the cards back to her. She raises an eyebrow, looks into my eyes as though she could read my mind. She instructs me to shuffle again. She says, I don't sense you set your intention. Try again. She is seriously psychic. I take the cards back, I shuffle, and I think, what do I need to know most at this time of my life? Truth is, what I always want to know is that my mind isn't going to unravel again and that I'll end up homeless, because that actually happened to me 17 years ago. For a decade, I had lived in New York City, went to NYU, was an actress and a singer in an indie rock band. But at 27, yet to have been diagnosed, I had a bipolar manic episode and I lost my job. I ran out of money and I was evicted from my apartment. I ended up in a recovery home for the homeless with mental illness. And after 2 years in recovery homes, I set off and I gradually rebuilt my life, made friends, volunteered, became a teacher. Yet Despite my successes, there is this fear that I will get sick again and lose everything I worked so hard to rebuild. Clarice is waiting patiently. I'm finally satisfied with my silent question. What do I need to know most at this time of my life? I hand the cards back. This time she's satisfied. She pulls the first card, and my heart races with anticipation. The Queen of Wands. Look at you sitting there on your throne. No one and nothing is going to knock you down. You've got courage. I sighed with relief. This is off to a good start. She pulls the next card and explains. The World card, the universe, if you will. You are not alone in this life. The world has got your back. And that makes me feel like really protected. She pulls the next card and she says, the Magician. What you have been through matters. You have pulled rabbits from the hat, and what you have done is really something. You help bring out the best in everyone you know and love as well as yourself. And this gives me a sense of purpose. And the final card she pulls is the Hermit card. And Clarice explains that this card is one of the highest enlightenment cards. It's about helping others on their path, taking what I know and shining my light forward so that wherever I went, they can go too and be okay. And this makes me feel like my journey has really meant something. Clarice looks into my eyes and says, you are solid. I feel weightless and free and intoxicated and giddy. I thank Clarice because I'm grateful, because after all, what are we all looking for in this life, if not meaning? Thanks. It's a silly one.
Oh, thanks, Erica.
Thanks.
When did you put that one together? Is that an older one or a newer one?
You know, I wrote this one many years ago, like maybe about 3 years ago. And then I did it in various forms and just kept kind of shaping it.
Right.
And then someone heard me tell it at a mic and they really liked it. So they had me tell it on a show the other night. But I
Nice.
don't know. It's like if I really embody the character, like sometimes I commit more than other times. So like tonight, I felt myself like my commitment level was not as deep. So I just am hard on myself. But it's a fun one to tell.
It's a fun one. And your background in performance influences it. That's why you, because some people don't even think that way about, they just tell the story. They don't inhabit the characters, right? They're not even thinking that way. So that's one of yours. That's cool. That's your style.
Yeah, I mean, I like doing voices. I usually have at least one voice in my, I do a couple voices. Yeah. I have a storyteller that I really admire who does that. And she really inspired me over the years. Nice. She does it much better than I do it, though. Vicky Judith. I don't know if you know her, but she's. I don't know Vicky. No. Silvana knows her, I think.
Oh yeah, cool.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sure, thank you. And if you heard Erica's story, you could always use the chat function to message her if you want, but afterwards, talk about the story stuff. That can mean, by the way, maybe you have a question for Erica about what happened in the story. Erica, you don't have to answer it, of course, but if you want to, or it could be around storytelling. Like you're putting a story together and maybe you have a question for one of the storytellers about how they did that process. All those questions are great. Here I go again, blabbing away. I'm not going to keep talking. I promised I wouldn't. All right, Ms. Clark, thank you for being here. I know your family has gone through a seriously difficult week, so I appreciate you being here. I'm going to mute myself. And this time I'm going to even spotlight you. I didn't do that.
My goodness. Right.
You are spotlighted, and have some fun. We want to hear your story.
All right. Thanks. I'm 5 years old, living in Germany, where I've lived all of my short life, so I only speak German. We moved to Seattle, and my mother, instead of putting me in kindergarten, she plops me into first grade. Now, back then, there were no English as a second language classes, so I had to learn English fast, and I had to put up with all the kids making fun of my accent. But the one thing I loved about school was the school lunches. The lunch ladies would give us mashed potatoes with gravy and little bits of ground beef in it, or we would have a tuna fish casserole. And for me, this was a big deal. My mom usually served us boiled potatoes for dinner, just boiled potatoes with a little bit of butter on the side. So I didn't realize that people had full meals. I didn't know that parents tucked their kids into bed at night. I didn't know that parents played games with their kids, and I basically raised myself. Unexpectedly, one Friday, a friend invited me to spend the weekend with her. So Friday, I left for school in the morning, and I didn't come back till Sunday evening. And my mother never even asked where I was. So I really knew that I was on my own. My mother, though, when she wasn't fighting with my dad, she would turn on me and tell me how worthless I am, how stupid I was. She didn't know I was president of the Honor Society. And, at school, I got good grades. I was the lead in the school play, but there was always that ache inside of, do people really like me? And I really am worthless. And then I was going on my first date, and my mom came in and she said, how much did you pay this guy to take you out? You're so ugly. Nobody would go out with you unless you paid them. And, it's something that goes inside of you. And no matter how you try to think, well, I don't think I'm that ugly. But anyway, a day after I graduated from high school, my parents left for St. Louis. And I mean, they left. They didn't ask where I was going to live for the summer. They didn't ask how I was going to pay for college. But fortunately, the last few weeks of my senior year, I had gotten involved with this youth group called Campus Life. And the leader was a guy named Chuck. Now, Chuck overheard me casually telling someone that I didn't know where I was going to live this summer. And spontaneously, he invited me to come live with him and his wife for the summer. Now, you have to know, they'd only been married 2 weeks. I mean, what newlyweds wants this hyperactive, upset, crazy teenager living with them as newlyweds? But they invited me. And the first night we were there, we were having dinner. And then afterwards, we were laughing and we played Yahtzee. Now, that's nothing. But to me, I was in shock. We had a casual dinner, we laughed, and then we played Yahtzee. I mean, I had never experienced anything like that before. And as I was going upstairs to bed, Becky said, Silvana, we're really glad you're going to spend the summer with us. And I froze. Why did she say that? What did she mean? Does she really want me here? I don't think that's true. I don't know. And I laid in bed and my thoughts were just going around like, why were these people nice to me? Did they think do I have to pay them a lot of money? What's going on? And the morning when I woke up, I knew they really didn't like me. And so I knew I just had to be tough and mean. I was rude. I was arrogant. Becky asked if she could help me unpack. And I said, I don't need your help and I don't need anyone else's help either. And, it just kept going like that. And I thought that you would think that I would kind of say, they are nice to me and let's be nice to them. But I couldn't. I just really couldn't. After 18 years of being told that you're nothing, it's hard to accept that someone accepts you. And sometimes they would say, do you want to go on a bike ride? And then my first thought is, why do they want to go on a bike ride with me? And no matter how mean I was, Chuck and Beck stayed calm and pleasant. Becky would put little cute notes in my lunch pail, my lunch bag when I went to work. And Chuck would take me out for ice cream. And, they even asked me, how are you going to pay for college? And of course I said, I don't need your help. I can do it all alone. And I had no idea how I was going to get past that first semester at college. And I was like, if you're outside playing in the snow, and you've got the thin gloves, and you're cold, and your hands are so cold, and you come in and you put warm water on your gloves or on your hands, and you just get they burn. And I think that's how it was, is I was hurting and these people were nice to me, but it just made me burn inside even more. And after 3 months of making their life hell, they packed up my few little things and took me to college, got me settled in the dorm. And as we were saying goodbye, Becky hugged me and she said, "I really care about you." And I said, "No, you don't." And she said, "I really do care about you. Do I need to tell you 1,000 times that I care about you?" And I said, "Yes, you do." Well, they left. I sat on my bed and I cried and cried, just so mixed with feelings about these people that had been nice to me, and I couldn't accept it. And a few days later, I get a manila envelope in the mail. I open it up and there are 40 sheets of lined notebook paper. And I kind of shuffle through the pages, and Becky had written, "I really, really care about you," 1,000 times. And looking at those papers, that was the turning point in my life, the turning point where I started to realize, people do care about me and I can care about other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Silvana. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm always curious. This might be a little bit annoying of a question, but is that something you put together recently, or is that an older story, or sort of a mix and mash?
It's kind of a mix and match. I kind of tweaked it for this session.
Nice. And the other question I have, because I've seen you tell stories in places from your home, Zoom stuff. Where are you? Because it looks like you're in a closet to me.
I have this narrow office. It's beautiful. It's got built-in shelves and everything, but it's just narrow. And so that's the back door that goes to the living room, and the Christmas tree's right back there. So, but no, it's not quite a closet, but
okay.
The sides are very nice.
Right. It's quaint. It's cozy.
Yes, it's cozy.
Well, thanks again for joining us. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, we are going to continue telling stories, and I will remind everybody, if you have a story, whatever story means for you, we might have different definitions. I'm a bit of a snob about it sometimes, admittedly, but this is a story, this isn't. If you got something you want to say, by all means, let me know, and I'll put you on the list. Right now, Erica and Silvana have told stories. We've got Madeleine and Linda and Shari and Kat. And for those of you that don't know me, by the way, I'm Sean. I'm in North Carolina. Silvana, you're in Washington State, yes? Erica's in California. Our next storyteller, Madeleine, is not even in the United States. Well, we love her just as doesn't matter. We still show love to our Canadian neighbors. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. I know Madeleine for quite some time now, and she's a dedicated storyteller. So I appreciate that. And anybody who's willing to tell these kinds of stories. So I'll stop talking, Madeleine, and I will spotlight you, and we want to hear your story.
Okay. It's November, the month of the dead. As I look outside, I see the leaves falling from the trees, being blown by gusts of wind in every direction. Geese circle overhead in preparation for their journey to the next destination. I've been given an unusual task. I've been asked to reflect on death and on dying and on medically assisted suicide. Most people, normal people, would refuse. They'd shy away from such a difficult task. But I'm not normal, and I'm not afraid of the dark. I started thinking about death when I was very, very young. It's 1972, and I'm 6 years old. My parents have enrolled me in a French school in our little village on the south shore of Montreal. They think that I might benefit from learning French as my second language early in life. I am the kid, the little kid, just a tiny little kid maybe 3 feet tall, bright blue eyes. My hair is so white. It's so blonde that it's almost white. And I'm holding on to this woman's hand for dear life because I'm the Anglophone who doesn't know a word of French. And I'm the Protestant being pushed into an ocean of Catholics to be taught by a staff primarily of Catholic nuns. Do I have stories to tell? I work hard. I learn the language. I'm competitive, and little Madeleine really likes to please. In grade 3, my teacher is Sister Francine. Everybody loves her. She's young and pretty. She wears normal clothes, not the old nuns. She plays games with us, and she delights in my stories. Francine loves us like a big sister. One Monday morning in late November, the principal, the mother superior, dressed all in black, is standing at the front of the classroom. Something's really wrong. She's saying, Francine isn't coming back. She's been called back to Jesus. On Friday night, a car crash has ended her life. I look around the class to see if I'm understanding correctly. My classmates' faces are white, shocked, sad. The little girl beside me, Natalie, is leaning forward over her desk and sobbing quietly. And I watch 2 puddles of tears form on her desk in front of her. I cover my ears because I don't want to hear what this woman has to say in French. I want her to stop talking. She's telling us not to cry, not to be sad, to be happy, because Francine is in heaven, like she won a prize. It just doesn't make sense. I can't understand it. And I just question all the stories I've been told to believe. So many stories. Maybe they're all stories. 10 years later, almost to the day, it's my turn to face death. I'm hit by a car in bad weather, and I end up in a hospital in Montreal in a coma. I might not survive. My life is hanging by a thread. I drift in and out of consciousness. I hear people talking around my bed, praying for a miracle, for my life, supporting my parents in their time of crisis. But then, inside in my immobile body, I think that I might die. I think that death might be a release. I know I'm seriously injured. When is disabled too disabled? When is a burden too heavy to carry? I'm surprised when I don't die. I fall back on my Protestant upbringing. Work hard, be good, you'll get what you deserve. And I do work hard through rehab and university, years of physical, mental, spiritual work. Today, my life is filled with love and depth and meaning. Deserving or not, this is what I got. I'm a mentor to my peers for a group called Memo Quebec. We support accident victims who, after their rehab, when they come back into the community. Recently, I was speaking to a client on the phone about medically assisted suicide and its state in Quebec and Canada. I kind of knew how the conversation was going to go. I knew how this person stood. Patrick is not only quadriplegic, but he happens to be a Catholic priest. He says, life is a gift from God, and it should be treated as such until the very last breath. Oh, okay, I think. Then he says, suffering should be our way to a reward, the ultimate reward of everlasting life. Okay. Can you imagine to be that steadfast in your beliefs? Well, I'm not. I think that cultural changes in our views of suffering and death are progressive developments. I think it's compassionate, and it's certainly a conversation worth having. In Canada, it's now legal to choose the time and date of your death, as long as your death is imminent. But now there's a loosening of the rules a little, and that they're starting to think of including people like that might have mental illnesses or debilitating illnesses like dementia or Alzheimer's. The death is not imminent in these cases, but people can prepare for it. More and more people are talking to me about this. Some people just don't want to be heavy on their loved ones. Some people don't want to face a long illness that just goes on. And other people, they're just tired and are ready to go. When they come to me with their stories, I listen. I don't judge. Every story is so very unique and it's so personal. And I welcome these stories, especially the dark ones. And maybe, just maybe, I can be a light in the dark.
Thank you, Madeleine. Madeleine, great job. Thank you so much. These stories are lovely, beautiful stories. And you, Madeleine, more than Erica and more than Silvana, you are newer to storytelling. You have come so freaking far. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Some people just pick it up. I mean, I guess I'm being a little judgy here, but judgy in a good way. For those of you that don't know, I have a podcast called Suicide Noted. I talk to suicide attempt survivors. So Madeleine, the content of that story, man, ooh, I've got some strong feelings on some of that. We'll talk about it if you're open to after the stories, man. I'm curious to know what you think, because I have maybe too strong, to be frank, maybe too strong. But thank you so much for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Madeleine is our only Canadian storyteller this evening. Erica's an American. You're all North American. Erica's from New York, I believe, and then she moved to California. We heard a little bit about Silvana's background. She ended up in Washington. Madeleine's Quebec through and through, I think, with pride, Quebecian. And then our next storyteller is in the great state west of Virginia, West Virginia. Lovely human being as well. I've known you for more than a year, right?
Yeah, I think so. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're all good human beings and good storytellers. And for me, what matters most is that you're willing to tell certain kinds of stories. I really appreciate that you're willing to do it and you're doing it in a way where it's like easy to listen to. That's hard. So Linda, I'm going to give you the mic with your yellow sweatshirt and your big light behind you in the great state, West Virginia. And we want to hear your story.
Okay. Since I know I'm going to be alone this holiday season, I thought maybe this is a good time to find a new friend, a boyfriend. Here in the Appalachian Mountains, the pickings are really slim. Actually, they're non-existent. So I said, okay, I'm going to put up my profile on a dating site. Got all my info together, had a pretty good description. It's kind of boring, but it was truthful. I put a photo of me in reading glasses and a baggy sweater. I got lots of glances and I got lots of looks and contacts. These were hillbilly men and they wanted to roll in the hay. They wanted to take me out in their cornfield for some frisky business. They wanted to show me their horse trough. Yeah, right. I thought, okay, let's change that profile. Let's put up the real me this time. So I put a photo of me in my belly dancing costume. Lots of pink flesh mounted up high and tassels and dramatic makeup. You know, let's just see what happens. So I wrote, although I look to be a Southern belle with dimples, blonde, nice smile, Carolina drawl, I'm really as sharp as a freshly honed buzzsaw and soft as fuzz on a newborn kitten. Come hither at your peril or maybe delight. Oh, I got responses, all right. I got lots of responses. And I finally said, all I'm going to do is just have fun online. One guy responded, ha, 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 ha. To quote Larry the Cable Guy, I don't care who you are. That's funny right there. And then he said, but you are too macho and much too manly. You have a nice smile, but that's a real whore type outfit. Yeah, I wrote back, thanks. It all goes with me everywhere I go. It's not a heavy burden to carry at all. On the other hand, my makeup bag, when I sling it over my shoulder, weighs me down like a pig in a poke. I think I'll go to the country fair and join a hog rolling contest. Never heard back from him, but that was okay. But change my profile. I'm going to go back. I'm going to put those library reading glasses on. I'm going to zip up a jacket all the way to my neck, all settled down and quiet and normal. Now, I've never been normal my whole life, ever. I thought, for Christmas 2021, in the middle of a pandemic, let's just see what happens. Whatever happens, whatever comes along, it doesn't matter. I can be alone because I've learned to love me exactly like I am.
Boom. Thank you, Linda. Wow, what site was that? Do you want to share? I'm so curious. You're not going to say? Just like West Virginia badasswomen.com or something?
No, it was a much bigger site than that.
I don't know that much about dating sites or apps. Sounds like it was a site, not an app, right?
It was a site. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, it's a well-known site.
Right. It's Match or Plenty of Fish or one of
Right.
them.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I have had some interesting experiences on those as well. Boy, oh boy. All right. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Huh. Dudes, right? What's up with dudes?
I
Unbelievable.
don't know, but I mean, you really see everything. I mean, even nude photos. I'm like,
Right.
what? Yeah.
Right.
What?
Yeah. It's we'll talk more about this if you're open to it after, but
Sure.
it
Yeah.
always blows my mind when I hear when I've been on those sites, they're like, no, I don't want to no dick pics. And I'm thinking, dude, like, I'm not meeting women. I'm not sending anybody a dick pic, but this is what I'm competing against. It's amazing. Like the first thing isn't like, hey, I'm looking for a really nice guy. Hopefully he's a nice sense of humor. I mean, perfect world, he'd have a stable job. It's just like all caps, like no dick pics, exclamation point. I'm like, okay. All right. So we're learning, right, Linda? We're learning.
We are learning.
We're learning. All right. Isn't Sean almost a magician how he makes other people's stories and then just like robs them and makes them about himself? Look at this guy. And he still has God coming down on his forehead. Oh, Jesus. The ego is just not in check. Miss Shari Miller is my neighbor in North Carolina, which by default means she's also Kat Dean's neighbor. And they're both telling a story unless something has changed. Shari in North Carolina, Kat Dean in North Carolina. Shari, I'm going to spotlight you and you're going to take your time and tell us the story you want to tell us. Is that cool?
Well, it's a 93-second story.
It's a little one. All right. Whatever it is, the story is a story.
But also, Linda, just before I start, Linda, thank you for my really big laughs. Your response to that guy, I was just cracking up. So I just want to thank you. It was great fun what you did. I loved it. Okay, so I'm ready now. Anyway, sorry.
Go, yeah, stage is yours.
Okay. Oh, I'm spotlighted your video for this. I stiffly held my newborn as I looked down to try and find that new mama bliss, but it was nowhere to be found. All I wanted to do was sleep and cry. Black cloud had descended upon me. I looked down again, this time searching for that mother-infant bond, but it too was nowhere to be found. I was ruining my baby. I went to my doctor. Something was terribly, terribly wrong, and she knew right away. Postpartum depression. She treated hundreds and hundreds of women. She gave me a prescription and said that I would feel better in a week or two, which I did. But then she said, Shari, you did not do anything wrong. This is not your fault. My shame slowly started to melt away. I gently picked up Noah, my newborn son, and held him against my chest and rocked him back and forth and back and forth. Boom.
Shari Miller.
Sean Wellington.
Both of us are Jewish and our names do not reflect that at all.
Nope.
What the hell happened with our names? Thank you, Shari.
I know what happened. I'm sure my grandfather showed up and said, what's your name? And he said, with a lot of with no vowels and a lot of Z's. And he said, Miller.
I probably have a similar story. Yeah. Something like that. Wellington. But I mean, of all the names that we got stuck with, Wellington's not that bad.
No.
It's kind of a nice name. I don't hate my name. Bye, Madeleine. Thank you very much. If you got to go, you got to go. Whether you're a guest or a teller, I understand. We've got lives to live. Shari's kind of getting her feet into the whole storytelling game. So I really appreciate you having the courage
Thank
to
you. That was number one.
join the open mic and throw your name in there and let me spotlight you and tell a story, whether it's a little 90-second or 9-minute. Great. So cool. Thank you. We've got Kat Dean. Are you here, Kat? And then maybe Sharon Eisner. We're ending strong this evening with North Carolina. All due respect to California and Washington and Quebec and West Virginia, but North Carolina is really strong. Kat Dean, I'm going to spotlight you.
Oh, how fun.
And then, yeah. And then there she is. There's our cat in what is, I think, maybe her bedroom, but we don't know. And it doesn't matter right now, really.
It's just a study.
It's a study. I love words that are verbs and nouns. The stage is yours.
Okay. Yeah. And as the last names, I will commentary. A lot of times people will come over and they'd say, what's your name? And they would give it the name like Zimmerman would be carpenter because Zimmerman means carpenter. So that's how a lot of the names ended up. With Miller, you may have had an ancestor who was a Miller.
Well, what was a Wellington, do you think? What did we do?
Probably just who knows what you guys did.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think he made boots.
anyway,
All right, I'm muting everyone. Go, Kat. Your stage is yours. Mute.
okay. And I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just figuring it out as I go along. Anyway, I'm sitting at my desk in Mrs. Ott's first grade class, and we're going to be handing in our homework in a minute. And I'm kind of excited because I worked so hard on my homework. I really did. And I'm sure that the teacher's just gonna be so impressed. And finally, he says, everybody get your homework out. And I pull it out. And it's a sheet of paper. Yesterday, the teacher had explained that each shape we're gonna color. And he gave an example. He colored in the triangle yellow. And so I had gone home and done such a good job coloring in each shape with my yellow crayon. And as I see the students around me pulling their homework out, I see that they'd all done it differently. The triangle was yellow, like the teacher had told, but everybody else had colored the rectangle blue. And the circle was green. They all had done it. They'd all done it that way. And I'm looking at my piece of paper with all these yellow crayons, so perfectly neatly in the lines. I had spent so much time. And I realized I'd done it wrong again. I was so stupid. How did everyone else know? Even Mark Bell had colored his right. It was sloppy and all out of the lines, not like mine, but he had figured it out. And I was so stupid. And I start to cry because I'm so tired of messing up and always being wrong. And the teacher comes to me and he's very distressed. He's a substitute teacher, thank God, because if my real teacher had been here, Mrs. Ott, she liked to shame kids who made mistakes by making them wear this hat that's shaped like a cone, like an ice cream cone, and make them sit in the corner. She called it her dunce cap. And this substitute teacher apparently did not know I needed to wear a dunce cap. And he was, it's okay, it's okay. It's everybody makes mistakes. We can do it again. I'll help you. But it didn't matter. I'm stupid. I'm always stupid. Just one more little list of stupid things I've done. I try and put my hair in a ponytail and everybody laughs because it's all coming down, or I choose my own outfit and it's not the right outfit. I'm always stupid. And that's my life. And years later, as an adult, I look back and I realize this kid's a superhero. This kid is not a dummy. She's a superhero. She had gone home with this piece of paper and all by herself had sat down and started coloring. And every other student had a parent who sat down with them and talked about how the colors worked, and explained to them, this says blue, you put it here. I didn't have that. And my hair, I'd done it myself. Everyone else's mom was there up there braiding people's hair, but not me. I did my own. And all the mistakes I made were because I was doing it myself, all by myself at 6 years old, while everyone else had parental supervision and parents, getting the little crayons out with them. And this little girl, she lives inside me still. She still thinks she's stupid. She still absolutely just rakes herself over the coals every time a mistake happens. But the adult me tries to talk to her and remind her, you're a superhero. You did this yourself. You're not stupid. You're a superhero. That's it, short.
Short and sweet. Thanks, Kat. Superhero, yellow. Thank you.
Other colors.
Other colors. Yellow is a good color, though. Did you know yellow was my favorite color and that's why you told the story?
Nope.
Okay, just wondering. That would have been a weird coincidence.
Hmm.
You're in your study where you study?
No, I don't
Nothing,
study.
nothing's making sense right now for me.
Right. No.
Linda's wearing yellow.
Yeah. Mostly I sit in here with my tax papers surrounding me, not doing taxes and Googling stuff instead.
What's the most recent thing you Googled? And then we'll move on to Sharon Eisner, our final storyteller.
Cockney rhyming slang.
That's fucking great. Because you're a superhero.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, Scott. Sharon Eisner has popped in and she wants to tell a story that makes 3 straight Carolinians, at least where we reside, and our 7th and final storyteller. And then again, afterwards, if you want to hang out, I do see a couple people have had to skedaddle. If you want to hang out and talk, we'll talk a little bit. All right, Sharon, I'll spotlight you. And we want to hear your story.
Hi. It's so nice to hear everyone's stories. Thank you for welcoming me. This is a story that I'm just thinking about, and I don't know yet where it's going to go or how it's going to end, but I just want to share it and see what happens. When I was born, the family was very surprised and disappointed because I was supposed to be a boy. This was not because of a sonogram. My mother had not had a sonogram. This was because my mother was certain that I was a boy. So my lovely educated mom said, yeah, I'm sure it's a boy. And my lovely educated father said, okay, then. And they chose a boy's name, which was Joseph, and which my siblings, which were 3, 5, and 6 at the time, called Yofus. And they didn't even have a girl's name. So I was born, they picked out a name in a hurry, and I wasn't who they wanted. And it's okay. My father had 1 boy and 3 girls, and it was okay. But I kind of wasn't really necessary to my family, or at least that's how I felt. I was the youngest, and everybody had an identity in my family. My brother was a really good communicator. He could negotiate at an early age, and he still does, right? My sister, my oldest sister, was an artist. My closer to me sister is incredibly bright. She could find her way anywhere. She just has a tremendous memory. And then there was me. And my mother used to tell people I was the friendly one. And a lot of the time I got ignored. I literally could, I was that kid that got forgotten at the gas station, like literally. And I kind of knew they were coming back, but it was still pretty hard, you know, to be up there at a snowy gas station, just kind of hanging out because my family forgot me, right? And my game that I used to play was I used to get lost a lot and just kind of pretend I was part of a different family and follow that family and be like, oh, they would love me. They would think I was funny. They would think I was smart. They would like what I draw. And then eventually, you know, somebody would figure out I was lost and they would take me to the center for lost kids. Like at Disney World, they always give you ice cream, you know, the rodeo, the clown holds you up until somebody grabs you, whatever. But that was a little game I used to play that I belonged to some other family where I was more necessary. Anyway, the reason I tell you this is as I grew up, I started to realize that I could get attention by being needed. So at my brother's bar mitzvah, when I was 7, all the boys were in one room, the library, and they all wanted beer, but they were young. They were 12, 13 years old. So when they went into the kitchen to get the beer, my grandfather would stop them and send them around without it. But when I went into the kitchen to get the beer, I could hold as many beers as I could hold and just walk out of the room and nobody paid any attention to me, which was kind of a super talent. I was sort of invisible. And I would bring the guys their beer and they'd be so grateful. They'd say, thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. You're so awesome. And I'd go get more beer. And I realized we had a lot of friends of the family who were disabled in different ways. We had a friend who was in a wheelchair with muscular dystrophy, and I started to read her the newspaper. And then she had this idea that I could read the newspaper on a microphone and other people could hear it too. So at an early age, I think it was 10 or 11, I'm reading the newspaper on a microphone. And all of a sudden I'm very important. And my teacher says to me, oh, I heard you're doing this. And other adults are saying to me, oh, you're such a good girl. And I started to realize if I do things for people, I'm seen and I am worth something. I'm visible. Fast forward to relationships. This is not a recipe for success in a relationship. Basically, from day one, if you would put me in a room with 100 guys, I would be magnetically drawn to the one who would be the most needy, because I could make a difference to that one. They would see me, they would notice me. If they were a felon or homeless or lying on the floor, and I could marry them for the green card for them, or pick them up or pay their bail, that was me being noticed and being needed. So I went through all the relationships of my life with people who needed a lot. And I was really, really good at figuring out what they needed. My earliest relationship in college and post-college, a 5-year relationship, was completely hidden from my own family, who are religious Jews at this time. They were born again. He was a Muslim from Egypt. And I basically supported his family. I used to work and I was living at home and I would give my money to his family. I taught his sister English. I used to give his brother rides to work. And my boyfriend, Sharif, was working as a parking attendant. So of course, you know, he couldn't take me out. He couldn't show affection. He couldn't even buy me a frickin' birthday present, which was a moment for me, because the one day of my life when I'm noticed as a child was my birthday. That was the day I get to choose what my mom made for dinner. That was the day I get to open a present with everybody looking at me. If I wanted my dad to sing songs with his guitar, that's what we would do. I got to speak up on my birthday. Well, Sharif wished me a happy birthday. And this was the first time. Now, I had dated other people, but for brief periods. This was the first time I had a honey on my birthday. And I was so excited to see what this honey was going to do to celebrate me. The one time I wanted to be celebrated. And he didn't do anything. And finally, it's the end of the day. We're together. And I said, did you get me anything for my birthday? And he said, Sharon, you know that I can't afford to get you anything. And I'm thinking to myself, do you know me at all? Do you not know that you could write a frickin' poem for me? You could draw a picture for me? You could pick a fucking flower, a dandelion for me, and I would be so appreciative. You could make a card. And I couldn't understand how this person that I was so invested in couldn't invest in me even one day. And what's sad is I chose somebody after him and after him who really appreciated all I had to give. And I felt so seen and so heard and so loved because I was appreciated in the sense that I would give to them, but never, ever felt the sense of somebody saying, what can I do for you? What do you need? What do you want? The balance was so far off. You know those bongo boards that are like on a roll and they stand straight and you're supposed to balance on them? I always felt like my bongo board of life was always like this. Like I just have to give and give and give in order to be, in order to exist, in order to feel like I deserve to exist. Because if nobody needs me, then why am I even here? Why does the world need me? If I'm nobody's person, if I'm nobody's necessary being, then I might just disappear. And after much therapy and time, I'm able to say, I don't want it to be like that. But let it be noted, I'm still not dating because I'm so afraid that I'm going to make that mistake again. I'm so afraid I'm going to go out there and choose the wrong person for the wrong reason. Because in order for me to exist, I have to give to them.
Noted. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Sharon Eisner in Durham, North Carolina. For those of you that are wondering, Sharon's in Durham. Kat Dean's in Carborough. Shari Miller's in Chapel Hill, which is where I am. Massive thank you to Erica, Silvana, Madeleine, Linda, Shari, Kat, and Sharon. And if you want to stick around, there's a handful of people that have stuck around. I'm not going to go over the list of all the things I hope people don't do when they engage with people, particularly after certain kinds of stories, like the stories this evening, but it's just, hey, curiosity, compassion, conversation. I'm going to stop the recording now and say goodbye to anyone who is watching this on recording. Thanks, Peg. I hope you can hang out. I want to talk about your program for a sec because you might have some people here who can join you. Peg Morrison is NAMI, North Carolina. And Peg, I got something I want to share with you, by the way, about NAMI, but in just a sec. Okay, that's all. Thanks for being here. I'm going to stop the recording and let's hang out and chat a little bit. Grab yourself a drink or whatever works for you.